AM, WCBG, Covington, Cincinnati, and 1320thevoice.com. This is the voice of Cincinnati. Yeah, think okay, let's be free. Okay, this is Frank. Right?
Easy, right?
Cheese and rice. We'll just hold that.
Good morning. You're listening to 1320 AM WCBG, The Voice. This is another episode of OKaye, Let's Be Frank. I'm Kay. This is Frank.
Hey!
Oh, man, what a beautiful morning it is, man. God is good. God is good. He's doing a lot of good things around the community. I just want to give a huge shout out to old Jesse downtown, Flip Daddies, man. Thank you for helping us out this year. Thank you for being our sponsor and doing everything that you do. I also want to give a shout out to New Reality Center down off Dixie. Now the First Baptist, Fort Mitchell Baptist.
Yeah.
That's what it's called. Sorry for yelling. Fort Mitchell Baptist. I'll get it right.
I'll get it right, man.
Right, I know. But I just want to give them a shout out. New Reality does a lot of good things with people dealing with addiction and just getting you closer to God. First and foremost, their mission. So a lot of great folks, a lot of great activities going on, a lot of good things. Friday nights at 6 o'clock, they have food, a good word, and a meeting for those who need to go. Super awesome folks. Good leadership. Like I really dig it down there. They bring it, and it's cool when you have people who have been through the same thing, dealt with addiction and dealt with life and all that, and then find God and realize that the only reason that they are where they are today is because of what He's done for them and with them. So they just want to pass along God's goodness to people who may not know. And it's such an awesome thing. Plus the food is phenomenal. Miss Tina Guerrero, man, cheese and rice, man, gets it together every week. You know what I mean? And my belly gets full for sure. It's super cool. So anyway, Flip Daddies, downtown Newport. If you want a burger, Friday night, you have nothing to do, come check us out at Fort Mitchell Baptist Church, man. It's good time for sure. Past couple of days have been kind of eventful, I guess. I got lucky enough to go be able to announce a basketball game last night. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, that was exciting.
Had some fun doing that, and they, the outcome wasn't how we wanted it to go, but they've got another game Friday night, and that's supposed to be a biggie. So we're gonna see how that goes. And
Pop it up.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to hype that one up, man. Step outside my shell a little bit, but it'll be all right. I just praise God for that opportunity, man. It's super awesome. I love being a part of that organization, man. Those are some good folks over there as well. So keep me in your prayers. Keep Miss Kay in her prayers. She's going through a little turmoil in life and new stages, new season, new beginnings. So just keep us all in your prayers as we all go through this 2019 season with God and with Him leading us and see where He's going to take us. You know what I mean?
Oh, He's got great things on the horizon.
For sure.
No doubt about it. For sure.
Also, if you're looking for something to do next month, it's huge. One thing for the past 3 or 4 years, I've been wanting to go, made plans to go, and for whatever reason, things have fallen through. I had to go on a trip. There was a few things that have popped up in the past few years, so I'm not even going to speak this into existence until the day gets here. But Winter Jam is February 19th, U.S. Bank Arena. If you know anything about Winter Jam.
Not a thing.
Not a thing?
Not a thing.
You don't pay attention to any of the commercials on
I don't watch.
See?
No.
Look, she's listening right now.
No, I don't. I don't listen to commercials. I don't.
Well, no, Winter Jam is over at U.S. Bank Arena. It's about 2 hours worth of Christian music. You've got the Newsboys. You've got Mercy Me. You've got Lecrae. Just to name a few.
Just to name a few. Okay, right. Yeah, we'll be looking into that. So
maybe somebody should start listening to commercials. I'm just saying. No, but it's a cool thing for like if you have a church or an entity or whatever, something in the area If anybody in the area is interested, you can contact U.S. Bank or I think Ticketmaster can direct you on how to get some tickets. Google it online. Winter Jam 2019. It's a great time. It's from what I understand, it's a great time. Well, like was it 2 years ago? Last year? No, it was 2 years ago. I had plans, and I mean, like, I had it all worked out, everything. Like, literally, it was on a Saturday. Yeah, it was on a Saturday, and I called and made arrangements, and I was gonna go pick up the van at church, meet the kids. Was gonna go pick up the money for the tickets, and the tickets you buy at the door, they're like $10. You know what I mean? Like nothing crazy. It's
really?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a good time.
Like really?
Like really. Like,
wow.
I'm not lying to you.
Okay. We might can swing that.
But no, I had everything totally lined up and didn't make it.
Yeah,
So
we're not going to discuss all that. So
not on this episode anyway. If you want to know, call in, ask a question.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not afraid to talk about it. We just don't have that much time. But it was
so that would be cool.
Yeah,
really.
it would be cool. That's kind of why I didn't like plan anything or say anything like before. Just I don't want to jinx it. Whatever. If God's gonna do something, He's gonna do something. I don't have to plan it. I don't have to make it happen. You know what I mean?
That's true.
So there's that. If you're looking for anything to do around mid-February, for sure check that out. Google that. And,
that might be a good birthday present for Mr. Dalton.
It's definitely a good time. If you wanted to go see Jeff Dunham,
he's not going to see Jeff Dunham. That's not going to happen.
Jeff Dunham is also coming to BB&T.
That was like the 13th. That's passed.
Oh, he was here.
Passed,
he was here.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if he ate at Applebee's.
I don't know.
Where's the Applebee's? Like right there in front. Like I used to work at that Applebee's right in front of BB&T Arena, and we would always kid about some of the big acts and things. Like, are any of these big names going to come into Applebee's? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
No. Not going to happen. The biggest guy, it was cool, though, because Dre Kirkpatrick from the Cincinnati Bengals, he used to come in and would sit at the bar and eat boneless barbecue wings and drink a Coke. And, we would talk to him or whatever. None of us were those, like, starstruck people. We wouldn't go over and be like, oh, my God, oh, my goodness. It wasn't like that. So that's why he would come over here, though, is just so that people would leave him alone.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we would talk to him, and, like, we'd give him so much crap, like, Dre, man, why'd you miss that? Why'd you miss that cat, bro? He was like, man, get out of my face with all that, man. It's so funny, but like, Dre, man, I got you some of that stick, and you can put on your gloves, bro, so you won't mess that neck on. You know what I mean? It's so fun, though.
We had Daryl Singletary. You listen to country music. In Comanche, Texas, a little small town that I lived in for 20-some years. He married a young lady that was from there. So he used to come to Comanche all the time. And it was just a normal, everyday thing to see Daryl Singletary in Comanche all the time. It was no big deal.
Right. Well, we got, there was one time in Owensboro, where I live, where I come from. It was such a trip that they were doing Extreme Home Makeover had come to. It was outside of Owensboro, like a little rural area. I've never been able to say that. Rural.
I see you done got me messed up. Can't say it.
Royal.
Okay, never mind.
Whatever. It was outside of town. Okay. It was
rural.
There you go. Rural, thank you, Jeff.
Yes, what he said. It was a little town. It was the Mattingly family. They were redoing their house. It was pretty cool. So anyway, at this time, Exhibit had been placed on the show as a host and helping out and stuff. And I didn't know, right? I heard they were in town. I was working over Charlie's at this time, and it was like a Saturday off, and I was like, man, I'm gonna go put in some time. You know what I mean? Because they were taking volunteers, right? So I drive all the way out there, and they have this huge parking lot area. It's off in this field or whatever, and I go park, and I go to just get in line and figure out where to go. I'm like, I'll push a broom for a couple hours or something, And, I had no idea you had to pre-sign up beforehand. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know. I just drove out there and followed signs, and so I get up there, and they're passing out hard hats and yellow vests and all sorts of stuff, and they go name, and I was like, Frank Haddon. I was like, I guess they're gonna put it on a name tag or something for me. And they're looking, they're like, did you sign up before? And I was like, no. You had to sign up to volunteer? Like, I'm here. I didn't know. I really didn't know. But so they sent me on my way. But it was cool. But anyway, I was telling a story to tell that one of my really good friends, I call him my brother, Mr. Rob Jenkins, worked at Texas Roadhouse at the time, and I'm hanging out with Paul, his brother. You know, we're all really good friends. And Rob calls Paul, and he's like, "Dude, you'll never guess who's sitting at the bar." And he's like, "Dude, it's Exhibits at the bar." And we're like, "No way!" So we hop in the car, and we go up there or whatever. And there's, of course, a crowd around this guy. And I don't know if you know who Exhibit is, but at the time, he was a pretty substantial, like, he was a mainstream rapper. He had that show. He was the host of that show, Pimp My Ride. You know, he was pretty prominent at that time. You know, this is back right after Nam. I'm just kidding, but it was a long time. It was a long time ago.
Like you kind of said that like we should know.
Well, that's why y'all are looking at me like I'm an alien. Like, yeah, sorry.
You think just
it was a little bit
of our age that we should have known that?
Well, duh. Jesus, right? Who doesn't know who it is? I mean, but anyway, he was a prominent guy. Had a TV show on MTV. He was a producer. Anyway. So he was in town, and we go up there, and we're just like, we get up there because we're kind of awestruck, but then we're like, dude, we don't want to be those people. You don't want to be those people. You don't want to go be all because I mean that's kind of, there are people too. They just want to go eat and hang out and all that. You know, like I try to think about how I would feel if I wanted to just go get some food and I couldn't go anywhere without somebody. Owensboro was a pretty small town. My friends used to call me the mayor because I couldn't go anywhere. That's why I'd be like, "Hey, Brian, hey, Frank." Hey,
I mean,
blah, blah, blah.
you know, it's kind of that way now.
It's
I've been a lot of places with you, and I'm just saying, there ain't too many that we've been into that somebody don't know who you are. I'm just saying.
That's true. So I can only imagine what it's like to be like a worldwide celebrity. You know what I mean? Like, I could probably go to places outside of this area and nobody would know who Frank is.
I mean, that might be the case, but I'm just saying.
Somebody like that, anywhere they go, it's ridiculous. So anyway, that's kind of, it's kind of crazy to be that, I guess to be that famous or whatever. I don't know if that would be that. Uncomfortable, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how famous those people are, and anywhere you go, you hear them and hear their name or whatever, but nobody really talks about Jesus like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
and that's the sad thing is that nobody does talk about Jesus like that, actually.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. So anyway, so that's going on. The Winter Jam's going on there, and nobody famous ever came in there, so, except for Dre. Dre was, we didn't consider him famous. It's 'cause he was like one of the guys, you know. He come in and cut loose, and honestly, like, I'm the type of dude that if you're not wearing your jersey that has your name on it, I probably don't know who you are. I probably passed so many people that played some type of sport around this area, because I mean, especially where I work at.
I was fixing to say, now where you work at, you might get to see a lot of them.
Yeah, well, like, people have to tell me. You
Yeah.
know, these guys will come in and they'll be like, "Hey, he's a blah blah blah," or "He's a blah blah blah." And the other day, like, one of the people that I took care of, he was the announcer for Reds, and dude was like, "Man, don't you do an announcing thing?"
Right.
I was like, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Trying to build my resume at this moment.
That would be the job.
That'd be cool.
It would be the job right there.
We'll get there.
Ultimate goals. No.
But like, I had no idea. You know what I mean? And that's just, I don't know. I'm oblivious to stuff like that anyway at that point, because like you're still a person to me. You know, you go out and play a sport. I know what it's like to go out and play sports, and I love what I do or whatever. Just because somebody else sees me as famous doesn't mean that I would like to be treated any less or any more. You know what I mean? I still put my pants on like you did. You know what I mean? I still, you know, it's the same thing. I just may have a little bit more money. Kind of a good thing, but but you know what I mean? Like, and the majority of these guys, like, They don't want people to know. They don't want anybody to know, like.
Because you don't get any privacy.
Yeah, it's super crazy.
Like there's no privacy when people know, and then they know, and then they're like, yeah, that's just crazy.
How are they? Exactly like that.
Yes.
I've seen it.
It's craziness. Like, can you imagine? No, I can't.
Wow.
No.
I can only
It's
imagine.
crazy. It's crazy.
If that day would come. Anyway, so yeah, Winter Jam's gonna be cool. If you can try to make that, check it out.
Okay.
See how that's gonna go.
That might be cool.
Yeah, heck yeah. So Jeff Dunham's no longer in town.
No, Jeff Dunham.
They did though up the road. I had a few friends that were like bartenders up the road at this place called Dunkers, and it was about 3 years ago. The violin player for Dave Matthews came in and hung out with him for a while. That was pretty cool. And then like before that, Anthony Davis came into the B-Dubs where a bunch of my friends were. That was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I personally haven't met anyone. I just get to hear cool stories.
Just get to hear cool stories. Well, maybe it's just not meant to be yet.
I don't know. I'm sure it'll happen.
Sooner.
Well, I mean, at the very least, I get to meet Jesus. So.
I mean, yeah.
Get it better than that.
Yeah, it ain't gonna get no better. Can I get your autograph, sir?
You've met radio personalities.
I have.
So, you know.
I met Miss Kelly Prather and Joel Gentry. Miss Ebony J helped me out a lot.
Matt Cooper.
Mr. Matt Cooper. Hey,
yes.
Stellar guy.
Yes.
Stellar guy.
Yes.
Love that dude. Super cool.
Yeah.
Go Chargers.
Bernie Westmoreland. Bernie Westmoreland.
Bernie.
Yes.
Bernie Moreland.
Moreland.
Bernie Moreland.
He's pretty cool.
He's super cool.
He was.
He's overnight though. Doesn't he do overnight?
I don't know what he does. He was. I don't know exactly what he does, but he was doing something.
That's right. That guy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be perfectly honest, when I first met Bernie, I was like, I just don't know. I just don't know about his
Hey, I was the exact same.
personality. And let's see, I'm going to go ahead and bring this in because personality is what I want to talk about today. I just don't know if me and him are going to mesh together. But the more I left myself open to let's just wait and see, don't prejudge, and keep the respect, the more I grew to like him. I really did. And he was a wealth of knowledge and probably gave me a lot that I would have never gotten had I just shut it off, you know, just because initially I didn't know if I was going to like him or not, you know. So you can't always go by. I used to be first impression is everything. I mean, I used to be, that was exactly. If you blew it on the first impression, that was the end. It was over, done.
But you can't judge a book by its cover.
You can't. You can't. You can't. And that's something that I've learned really a lot lately. Well, not even lately, like just over my lifetime. You can't judge the book by its cover because you just don't ever know what's going on. And Bernie turned out to be one of my favorite teachers at that school.
You know, it's so funny. I mean, that's such a true statement. And especially like with the church and characteristics and the things that we're going to talk about today. Some people have mastered the art of saying the right things and being a friend to your face and what I call the art of blowing you off politely. You know what I'm saying? Right. There's so many people that I talk to. It's so funny because like there's so many people that will, hey man, you know, we're gonna get together and you know we're friends. Why don't we come and why don't you do this and blah 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 and all that stuff. And you don't hear from them until you see them again.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And then there's like an excuse and this, that, and the other, and it's like, listen, man, we're both busy. It's fine. You don't have to make up anything. You know what I mean? Like, it's totally cool. You're making up stuff for your benefit. You know what I mean? And so to to judge somebody based on like how they look and how they first come across, yeah, it would seem as though like, hey man, we're friends, we're gonna, you know what I mean? Like, whatever, you know, we're gonna be pals and all this, but the ultimate thing is that their characteristic is to I don't want to lie. I mean, I want to say BS. I mean,
Well, I mean,
that's a character trait.
It is.
People to blow smoke. You know what I mean? And some people do that unknowingly. You know, they've become such accustomed to doing so, and it comes natural, and they don't understand. They want to try to keep you happy and keep you in a certain spot mentally, but they don't really want to commit to anything to you. And I'm like, well, instead of saying that, instead of saying, man, I really don't want to commit to that, or I don't know if I'm going to be able to, they just rather be like, yeah, bro, let's go, blah, blah, and then I'll make a phone call to you later, or I'll send you a text later giving you a crazy excuse. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just a guy like, dude, just tell me. Like, it's fine. We're adults, right? That's, whatever. But that's one of those character traits, I guess, that you're going to talk about.
Well, I mean, I just was like this says right here is if someone was to ask you to describe your own personality, your own character trait, would you be able to do so? Because I don't know that I would be able to describe my own personal character traits and personality.
I'm not sure you can narrow it down to one thing. You know, we're multifaceted.
Right.
You know, we do a lot of different things, and we will act differently in different settings.
Right.
You know,
Very
some
true.
people are better one-on-one, some people are in with groups. You know, so you kind of have to do it your style and make sure it's comfortable for you, and that makes it comfortable for others.
That's very true. I mean, it's almost like we go all the way back. Like, we're all animals. You know what I mean? Homo sapien is it's a species.
Man.
You know what I'm saying? So we can smell fear. We have instincts. Those types of things are innate, which means that they're God-given. They're inside us. There's nothing you can really change. You know, like we've talked before about tells. You know, we all have these tells that, without knowing, you do when you feel a certain way, when you hear something, whatever, certain things that you cannot change. No matter how hard you try, it can't be done.
I know something about this glass face that I have. I just don't know.
Everybody's got one. Everybody's got one. It's just learning what people's tells are. Like that's the huge thing.
I'm like, I need a mirror so I can start watching myself every time I talk. That way I'll learn what my glass face says. I just don't know.
a lot of people don't even care to read it, though. That's
but see, I'm really caring because I really want to know what my glass face is saying. I mean, it's just crazy.
But we all have those instinctive traits about us. So when someone is lying or something is amidst or whatever, your gut's gonna tell you. You know what I mean? You instinctively know that. We choose to disregard it, overlook it, or take it at face value and push it away. Those are definitely things that come naturally. Read that one more time.
It says, if someone was to ask you to describe your own personality, could you do it?
So what Jeff was saying to that, like, it really depends on each situation, and the amount of time in each situation. Like last night, that announcing gig, I've announced how many 4, 5, 6 football games, right?
Yeah.
So kind of seasoned in doing so. Last night I was scared to death. You know what I mean? Like my paper was shaking when I was I was nervous. You know what I mean? Because it was a new setting. You know, I had experience, but it was a new setting, so I was nervous. You know, when I first sat down behind the microphone, you know, super nervous. You know, I didn't know. The first time getting in front of anybody, even speaking or whatever. So, like, would my character trait be, am I a scared person? I don't think so. So that's what I mean, like to define myself.
I think it depends on the setting, like you said.
Right.
If you're comfortable in a setting, then you'll do better. You'll feel better. You'll perform better in that case. But if you're in a place that you're not comfortable, or you're not comfortable with the people that you're around, it doesn't come out the same.
True.
But how does that relate to your core person, though? How does that really turn into who your core person is?
I think some people are introverts, some people are extroverts. Some people, like I said before, work better in group settings. Some are better just one-on-one. They can talk to one person for an hour and a half, and it's easy.
Mm-hmm.
But you put them up in front of a group or have them speak. Public speaking is the number one fear, there is. And if you put them in that setting, it's like they just freeze.
Yeah, I feel like that would be me.
Yet you're on the radio.
But I'm on the radio, right? Which I know it don't make any sense, right? It doesn't make any sense at all. But at the same time, I do feel like that. I know that I'm an extrovert. I like to talk. I don't like to be sheltered. I don't like to be enclosed. I don't like to stay in a rut position. I don't like I like routine, but I don't like to stay in the same rut. Right. I like progress.
Mm-hmm. Or variety.
Or variety. Yeah, that's
just to be in different places.
Mm-hmm. But to actually get up and like this, to me, even though there's microphones or we're on Facebook Live or whatever, to me, we're still just me, Jeff, and Frank talking. It's like there ain't nothing else. So there's nobody else here. We're just talking, right?
Yeah, I could do this, but I don't like to get up in front of a crowd.
Right. So
for some reason.
Well, that's why they used to say, visualize the person in the audience in their underwear or whatever.
Right.
Because
that was too frightening.
But no, that takes away the anxiety. You know what I mean? Because we just laughed at that, right?
Right.
It takes away the anxiety of eyeballs on you.
Right.
You know what I mean? And even though we are on the cameras or whatever, there's nobody actually in here physically looking at us. You know what I'm saying? So it is a little different. You're in a gymnasium and you've got, I guess, a couple hundred people in there looking at you. It's a little different. But to understand how to take this and translate it to that's where there's a gap.
There is a gap, and that's a gap that I want to learn how to expand and build on that, because I want to be able to talk.
Well, when you come down to it, it's basically fear. And why would a person be afraid? Okay, what has happened in their life that set them up to be afraid of a certain circumstance? There are memory cues people get. They'll walk into a setting and it'll remind them of something that was very negative in their life, so they're automatically afraid of it. It's that fight or flight thing.
Very true. Very true. Everything that we do, if we are scared of it, it's because of a memory, or it's unknown. Those are the only two. And once you kick, I think that the first part is to kick the fear of the unknown out of there, because once you're believing in God and doing all that, you know what I'm saying? Like, you really trust that God's going to take care of it. The unknown means nothing, because we understand that we're not supposed to understand everything, and we know He got our back. So that's nothing. The unknown's nothing. Now, what do I have to do? Now I got to work on me and what is causing me to feel a certain way. I just Googled this while we were talking, how to identify your critical inner person. The critical inner voice reveals itself in those little everyday thoughts that flit through our consciousness. They zing us and are gone before we are even fully aware of them. And I think that first sentence is so huge, because there are times that I will try to sit here and pray and really focus in on God or whatever. And it's like, this goes off, my phone goes off, something, you know what I mean? Just distractions all around. But then I'll be driving in the car and God will say something like, you need to call this person back, or you need to remember to go talk to this person. Remember that book that so-and-so gave you a month ago, you need to go give that to this person, you need to blah, blah, blah. And it'll be like so quick. And beforehand, I know so many times that I ignored that totally. So when I look back at things and I'm like wondering why I can't change or why things aren't changing, I gotta understand, well, man, there were things that I didn't hear. There were things that I know that I ignored. Being fully aware means to try to shut out distractions as much as possible, to hear your inner voice and to hear what the Holy Spirit and God is saying, I believe. It says that these thoughts are a part of a menacing internal dialogue, a harsh and judgmental way that we talk to ourselves. Though sometimes hard to pinpoint, the inner voice is often experienced as a running commentary that attacks and criticizes our actions and interactions in everyday life. Unfortunately, this destructive thought process influences us to make decisions that are against our best interests and to take actions that negatively impact our lives. Mm-hmm. And as we chit-chat with ourselves, we are our own worst critic all day, every day, twice on Sundays. So that tends to lead us back to familiar, comfortable, oftentimes detrimental and negative. Because that's what a lot of us know. You know what I mean? Nobody's lived a perfect life that I'm aware of. So it's crazy to think when we think about what is our innermost characteristic. It's an ongoing conversation, I think. Like what you were saying, it depends on the setting, it depends on the duration. It's an ongoing conversation with ourselves, I believe.
I think a lot of times too, people actually get comfortable in that setting, where they have those same issues, but rather than branch out and try to improve, mm-hmm. they just say, I'm kind of comfortable here. Mm-hmm. So they don't try, and they stay in that rut, as you would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to really want to be motivated to improve on yourself and to grow and to be better.
What if, all right, Jeff, like what if people don't realize what they're doing and how they keep themselves in that rut? Like, what are some things that you would suggest, you would say, that would be like subconscious? When everybody wants to improve, everybody says they want to improve. I don't believe that anybody wants to stay in a negative, bad mindset. But what are some subconscious things that would keep somebody there?
Well, fear of the unknown. Mm-hmm. Okay, if I go and branch out, I might fail. Okay, so I don't want to fail, so I don't try. Okay. Right. Also, the other thing is you might branch out and succeed, and then how do you work that?
Yeah.
Okay, because you've never been there. So there's another fear of the unknown. But what I think it really comes down to, that inner voice you're talking about, mm-hmm. is to listen to that, because it's really the Holy Spirit, God inside you, trying to guide you in the direction you should go. Proverbs 35. Mm-hmm. Trust in the Lord with all thy heart, lean not unto your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct your path.
Amen. It's so funny that we were eating breakfast this morning. She's like, I want to talk about Proverbs 35. Oh, so look at there.
Like he's been Proverbs 35 and me all morning long. All morning. So much so.
But when we do it on our own, it's much more difficult.
True.
Yeah. I mean, right. And I mean, so it's I totally have this thing going on, and I know that I have this thing going on, and I know why I have this thing going on, and I'm trying to work through all of this mess and let Him work through all this mess. Greatness. All of this greatness.
Progression. She's trying to work through her progression. Okay. We're going to get there here in just a second. Let's continue.
And so I'm stepping into places in faith that He's asked me to do. I mean, I'm not going, no, I'm not going to do that. I mean, I'm literally doing exactly as He says to do. Mm-hmm. Frank sees it in a little bit of a different way, because when we have conversations, I still say, I've done this and this and this. And he's like, just drop that part and say this. And then he derails me.
Well, no, tell the whole story now. What are the things that I'm telling you to let go of?
The negativity from the past is what he tells me to let go of.
Every time that we have a conversation, she wants to tell me about the things that went wrong before. And she says that because she has to do that because I won't know the whole story. And when I'm like, I get frustrated because I'm like, that doesn't define you. Nobody needs to know that. God knows that and has brought you through this far. So all we have to focus on is his goodness and how he brought us out. So that means he's going to take us even further if we allow him to do that. So why look in the rearview mirror and keep saying, well, I've never got to do this before.
All I'm trying
you know what I mean?
to say is that's just part of my thought process to get to the other point, and he derails me by yelling at me before I get to my point. So,
well, the only benefit of the past that's negative is to learn from it and move on, okay? Because you don't want to take it with you.
Right. I mean, and I'm not trying to take it with me, but
it can be used also as an illustration of things not to do.
Right. So
you can use that past, but don't live there. That's, I guess, the difference.
And I think he thinks that I still live in it just because I talk about it, and it's not.
How often? All right. So I'm glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that. So in my opinion, the tongue is the strongest muscle in the body, right? Because it has we speak things into existence, right? Mm-hmm. It has so much power. How we talk about ourselves, our life, and all that, we speak things into existence, right? Okay. So that's kind of my thing in thinking. Why would you want to keep talking about anything negative if it's not in a light of, man, I learned from what I did before, so I'm not going to do that again. I'm allowing God to work with me. If it's not in that type of light, then why? I don't understand.
The other thing I could think of in anybody's circumstance would be for healing. So somehow process it, to process through it so that you can get beyond it. Sometimes it's not so easy to just leave it. You have to be healed from it first.
I mean, I get that. I get that. Is that something that should be said aloud on a repetitive basis? Or if you're really wanting it, if you're really wanting to be healed from something, I use the illustration as this. The guy that called me to do the announcing gig, right? He saw me in a certain light, right? Because he called and asked me to do this. Now, if I were to go to him yesterday and been like, dude, I'm so glad I had this opportunity. I never would have had this opportunity before. Because I was sitting around doing drugs or in a bar, or on a Friday night, I would have been out with my friends doing some craziness. So I'm so glad to have this opportunity. Would that have been beneficial? I mean, is that me healing from my past or using that?
Not in that circumstance.
Well, and that's what I mean.
But if I'm talking to a friend and I've had something in my life that I need to work through, talking to my friend would be okay. Talking to a possible employer or whatever would not.
Right, right.
It's not the right setting.
So how often are these things allowed to be said or dealt with or whatever before it becomes detrimental, or maybe the thought of you kind of want to stay in this place kind of starts to...
Well, again, you don't want to live there, but you do have to process through being there, okay?
I mean, well, that's what I'm asking. Like, how long? I'm not saying that you don't have to process
it. Depends on who. It also depends on the person and who your characteristics are and how you process things and what you do and how you process them. How long have you actually lived in this position before you've actually decided that you want to and need to process out of this position? So how long is it going to take? It's not going to be just like overnight. Oh, it's done. It can be.
It's not the same for everyone.
Right. Each person is different. And each step is different. And just because it's said doesn't necessarily mean that you're living there. You could be just saying it to get to this next step. But if the person that you're talking to derails you before you get to the next step, then you don't ever get to the next step.
The other
if you're going to let someone stop you from getting to the next step, if your whole next step is based on someone else and how they perceive or portray or act, are you really?
No, they're not going to stop you from getting to the next step. Like the conversation with me and you is not going to stop me from getting to the next step. It's just this conversation between me and you is going to stop. That's what's going to stop.
When you talk about negativity in life, the different things that have happened, remember we talked that one time about Elizabeth Kubler-Ross with loss, and basically any negative experience we have is some kind of a loss. Okay, loss of a relationship, a loss of a job, a loss of whatever. Okay, and whenever you go through that, we all go through it differently. Some people work it out okay. They can figure it out themselves and move on. Some need help. Some don't ever get over it. So it all depends upon the personality type. And then like the second one was to go to a friend or to a counselor or to a psychologist or whoever, to a minister, and then you work it out with that. So we're all different. We all react differently to the loss. And it also depends upon the depth of the loss, too. Some things you lose, big deal.
Right.
Other things are much more deep inside yourself.
Right.
So it takes more time.
It's very true. It's very true. I guess it's just, again, like my opinion on things. I say how I feel, and I just don't believe that to go and talk to so many people and tell everybody, like, it is not very often that I have heard, man, God's so good, he's bringing me through this. It's always about what has happened in the past and the negative, looking in the rearview mirror. I mean, I remember we were driving down the road one day and I kind of brought it up and I said, well, you talking about this stuff that's in the rearview mirror? I was like, you want me to stop? You want to go back and get it? And she's like, no, I get what you're saying. I understand. And I was like, you got to know that it's not that I don't care. It's just that if you're asking for help on how to get over these things, to keep talking about them is not getting over them. You keep it in the forefront and you keep giving it power. And that's what I get frustrated with, and that's what I keep saying. And then every time it comes up, I mean, like, if you need to talk about it, that's one thing. But if you tell like everybody and then you stay talking about it to everybody, how does that ever get over? It just seems like we still continue to talk about the issue and not the progression or getting through it or getting over it. You know what I mean? That's my opinion about it. I mean, hey, Frank's been known to be wrong before, but that's just how I think about it.
Sometimes talking about it, there is an expression, and it's a way of getting it out. Now, it doesn't necessarily completely fix it, but it may be an initial step in fixing it. Sometimes you just have to vent. That's the word.
Right.
Vomit like a volcano.
Well,
just get it out. Like, no. I mean, no. But, and I don't know, he says everybody, like it's the whole world. And there's only a few people that this particular situation has been involved. But either or, with each step of this process, and this is really all started really just coming apart when my dad passed away, really. Like everything that I've ever known is just, and it's just trying to process my entire life.
It takes time. It doesn't happen overnight, because there's so many variables in it. Multiple different experiences and everything else.
And again, like, I don't want to get that misconstrued either. Nobody said, "Okay, change tomorrow." Nobody's ever said that. And if anybody knows anything about changing and getting over things and going through things, it's me. So all I'm saying is stop giving the negative power. If you really want to get through it, why give it power? I mean, yeah, talk about it if you want to, but not every point has to go back to what has happened to me.
You arguing with me about it gives it more power than you allowing me to finish my thought process.
If your thought process starts with something negative, no, I'm not going to allow that. I mean, that's just me. I mean, you need to talk to somebody else at that point. that's just me.
It's like, I just don't know.
But I'm saying, like you said, everybody deals with things differently. In my thought process, what works for me is to not think about the negative, not to deal with that at all. Those are things that I pray about to God about me. But that's how Frank works. Yeah, that's not necessarily what's going to work for Kay.
Yeah, that may be the type of person.
And that's not necessarily what's going to fix the whole issue. But if you're going to ask me and ask my opinion and want me to be a part of all this, then I'm going to tell you how I feel and what I think. Take it for what you want. I mean, don't get mad at me because it's the way I think.
I'm not mad at you for that.
Well, good.
That's a start.
Right. I mean, that's just the way that I work. I mean, I can't.
But
I can't allow.
At the same time, you can't get mad at me for processing the way I process.
I don't get mad. That's why I told you the conversation. I didn't want to talk about it anymore. Yeah, I wasn't mad. It was just like I'm not giving it any more power.
Clearly, he wants the best for you, but we all have to process it in our own way. That's really what it comes down to. Like I said, there are the 3 different types of people, you know, and maybe even variances in between them. And we're all different. So it's good to hear other people's perspectives on how they might deal with it, but that might not necessarily work for another person. Mm-hmm. It may be different. So we have to, it's good to go back and forth and say different things, but ultimately it's the individual that has to look at their own circumstances and process them in their own way. Mm-hmm. They can get help from other people to do that, but they ultimately have to do that themselves.
Right. Right.
Very true. Very true. Everybody's got an opinion. Mm-hmm. What they say? They're like what?
No, it's
everybody's got one.
Yeah, everybody's got one, and most of them stink. So
smell. Everybody's got noses, and they all smell. Right?
Yeah, there you go.
But you know, the ultimate healer is the Lord.
Right.
Okay.
Well, and that's and in my opinion, that's why I think from everything that I've ever been taught, so many times, and this is my experience. This is why I think the way that I think. So many times I went to people and they're just like, "Suck it up, dude." You know what I mean? Like, so what? You know what I mean? I mean, I could sit here and list off a bunch of things. You know, a couple of things. You know, I haven't talked to my mom in how long, whatever. She's been in town, but won't talk to me, whatever. So his mom's in the hospital. I mean, a lot of things that are not going correct in my life. You know. But in my mind, like when I go to somebody and talk about it to them, they're just kind of like, you know, whatever, Frank. Well, you call the situation yourself, dude. Blah blah blah. You know what I mean? Like, so I felt like when I had to analyze myself, I had to look at, did I cause the situation? By golly, I did it. Well, I can't look for sympathy. I can't look for whatever. So then I had to search for a way to process it. How do I process it? You know what I mean? And that's whenever it was like, the only one that's really going to listen and I'm really going to feel like that cares is God. And so that's when I really started the whole process of taking time, talking to him and blah, 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 and understanding that while doing that, while he's fixing me, I have to do nothing but progress and not worry about what's behind me. Because if I truly trust him, I know he's going to take care of it, and I'm going to keep moving like he already has. That's my faith. But that's just my opinion. That's what I have gone through. And that's why people like, nobody would know. If I don't say it, nobody's going to know what's going on in my mind. Nobody's really going to, people I work with, people I go to church with, people, whatever. You know what I mean? If I don't say it, because that's just how I work.
But there's also certain people that actually know and care enough about you that say, what's going on, Frank? And then when Frank says, this is what's going on, they say, okay, Frank, well, we'll pray for you and pray about the situation. And then that's how they handle that situation.
No, I hear you. But then what? After we pray about it, then what do we do?
We continue to pray until it answers.
I'm saying, like, after we pray, after we say amen, we get up and we keep progressing, right?
Well, yeah.
Right. And that's how I deal with things. And that's all I'm saying. That's what I know. That's how I deal with things. We give it to God. We talk to him. Hey, man, this is what's going on. I get up and I keep it moving. You know what I mean? And so that's.
But that doesn't mean it's not working and doing the same thing.
I never said that. I never said it wasn't working.
In me, I'm saying though, in my situation, doesn't mean it's not. Just because it don't look the same way that it works with you and in yours, don't mean that it's not working the same way over here.
I never said that it wasn't. Those words never came out of my mouth either. Like I've never said, "Okay, whatever you're doing is not working. You need to stop what you." Have I ever said that? Have I ever said, "However you're handling your situation is stupid"? Have I ever said that?
Just did.
No.
No.
I just did. No, I haven't. And that's what I'm saying. Like when we talk about things, my hugest issue is just the negative and the power you give the negative. That's my biggest thing. Everything else, how you want to talk. If you want to talk all day long, we talk all day long. We talk on the radio for 2 hours a week anyway. You know what I mean? We're together 3, 4, 5 days a week anyway. My biggest issue is how much power you give the negative. That's where we kind of clash.
I think one thing, the most important thing is insight that you get from God as to whatever your circumstances are. You may receive it differently than she does, but God will give you what you need. So the key is what? The proximity of you to God. Spend more time with him, more time reading his word, more time praying, and he will start speaking into you, and he can heal you just like that. You know, but there's a time and place for everything, and we have to be in the right place and at the right time.
Right.
And we'll find the answer we need. But you know, I think this is just, you know, going back and forth. We all deal with things differently. That's what all of that is all about.
Right.
Okay. But the one thing that's the same is God.
Right.
And he has the answer. He has the healing. He has the insight to move forward and to break free from the past. He has it.
Right.
And if we're close to him, we can find it.
Right. I agree with that.
Very true. Very true. That's like one of the things that I try to keep myself busy, and that's one of the reasons why is out of hands of the devil's playground. And I mean, honestly, like when I feel myself getting negative or something like that, you got to open the Bible up and just read scripture or something. You know what I'm saying? And instead of feeling sorry for myself or whatever, and this is me, I'm not making an innuendo in any means. What I'm saying is that this is what I do to help myself keep going, because there are times that when I really start to think about everything, like I just want to sit and cry, man. Like there's a lot going on, you know what I mean? And if I let that get to me, and if I keep that in the forefront of my mind, we're not progressing the kingdom. We're not thinking about, and in my mind, I'm thinking that I'm letting him down. I'm not allowing him to do his thing if I keep talking about or thinking about the things that he's brought me through already. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that I'm doing him a disservice. When to give somebody a reason to ask me why I'm so happy, that brings me joy. You know what I mean? If I'm at work and they're like, "Dude, why are you so happy all the time?" Let me tell you about my dude. You know what I mean? You know? But if I keep telling people about, man, you know, I used to do this and I used to do that, and I can't believe where I was at 3 years ago, blah, blah, blah. If I keep doing that, then how's anybody? That's what people are going to see. They're not going to see him through me that way. That's my belief.
Well, we all look at things differently.
That's true.
You know, we have to be aware of that too.
Right.
Well, what was the scripture I had the other day that said, "Bear each other's burdens"? You know, and that's really what a partnership is about: is bearing each other's burdens. I don't mean to be overbearing or mean or hateful in any certain way, but we both know I'm a passionate, outspoken type guy, and I do bear your burdens. I get it. I understand it. I really do. And I think a lot of my passion comes because I don't like seeing you hurt. You know what I mean? And I just want you to hurry up and get over it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, well, guess what?
well, I mean, like, I get it.
I mean, you know what? Hey, nobody wants me to hurry up and get over it no faster than I do. Guarantee that.
No, I hear you. But I mean, that's part of it. I mean, if I'm like all the way honest, that's like seeing anybody hurt, and I want to do as much as I can to aid that and assist that or whatever. And if I overcompensate and become too edgy or whatever, I apologize. But my thoughts are my thoughts.
I mean, and you're totally entitled to your thoughts. But you just have to realize that I'm totally entitled to mine too. And we're in a totally two different positions in two different places in two different walks right now. And we just have to do what we have to do and keep marching forward. The thing is we are marching forward. We're not sitting still. Like, I'm not staying in this place. The march is going. I am doing every step that I'm being told to do, whether it's completely understandable to anybody or not. It doesn't matter. And I shouldn't, and I don't feel like I should have to defend myself at all. Period. Period. To anybody.
Only to him.
Only to him. And he told me I don't have to defend myself, and therefore I'm not going to argue about it.
There you go.
Well, all right.
So
There it is.
there it is.
Right.
I mean, like he says, you don't have to. So just do it. Just do what I'm telling you to do.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody has an opinion, and everybody thinks how it should be done, and everybody thinks what I should be doing. But the only thing that matters is what he is telling me to do. And you've got to know, and you've got to believe, and you have to understand that I am having and have been having very much conversations with him a lot, all the time, and it has been going on for a long time. And we're having good conversations. And he says, just do what I'm telling you to do. And I'm saying, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it, and I'm doing it. Now, we have to have this little conversation over here because I need Frank to do this thing for me. So I bear the argument because I need to. And then I'll go over here and I have to bear this argument because I need to. And then I have to bear this argument because I need to. But I'm not going to defend myself anymore because I don't have to defend myself. I've not done anything to have to defend myself for. So you can understand it or you cannot understand it. It's your choice.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. So, I mean, I'm just saying that's just where I'm sitting right now. That's where I'm at. And I wake up every morning thankful and say, okay, you know, it's your will. Let's go. What do we do today?
And we all know that he has our best interest at heart.
Absolutely.
And he's working all things together
All things.
for good.
Mm-hmm.
For those who love God and are called according to his purpose. That's what he said.
That's what he said. He gave me that scripture when I was a young child. That scripture has been with me my entire life. That way, and do unto others as you would have others do unto you. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And those two have been with me my entire life. And I didn't know what Romans 8:28 meant for forever. You know? But I'm learning now, like he's got me, he's had me, he's always had me, he's going to continue to have me. I don't understand how things work out. That's why sometimes I need to have these conversations, and I need to be able to rely on a couple of other people.
None of us understand everything.
So
We're just walking through.
just walk through, just do what we got to do, and just be like, okay, you know. All I know is he says, you're going to have this. This is what you're going to have. This is who you're going to have it with. This is what you're going to do. Now just go do what I say to do. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. How does that happen? I don't know. Just go do it. Okay. I mean.
You know, and in that process, you may work your other stuff out all at the same time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And there's already things that, like, I learned so much when Dad died and I went to Texas. I learned so much when I was there. But since then, and since I've been home and this other stuff, there's been so many revelations just since then that I'm like, it's amazing, amazing the things that have come out. And just knowing my father more than I ever knew him before. And actually, it's kind of sad because he's gone now. you know, and it was the same with my mom. Like, why couldn't I have those connections when they were here? I don't understand. Why couldn't I have understood that then? I guess it wasn't for me to understand it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't get it, but apparently it wasn't meant for me to get it. So,
hey guys, thank you very much for listening. We'll be back on Monday, 11 to 12. Thank you again for Jesse down at Flip Daddies in Newport. New Reality, thank you for your support over at Fort Metro Baptist Church. Again, this is another episode of OKaye, Let's Be Frank. Tune in Monday to check us out. 13:20 a.m. WCBG, The Voice. All right, that hour went quick.
13:20 a.m. WCBG proudly brings to you the OKaye Let's Be Frank show. We're going to dive into the Word, talk to guests, and get closer to God on 13:20 a.m. WCBG.
That's Mondays at 11 a.m. and Wednesdays
Facebook
at
Live.
12
Y'all have a good one.
WCBG,
Peace, love, and happiness.
13:20
Back
a.m.
to see us on Monday.
13:20 a.m. WCBG Covington, Cincinnati, and 1320thevoice.com. This is the voice of Cincinnati.